Hi guys, I haven't made a video in a long time. This video, I'm going to make two videos today. This is the first one. This video is going to be talking about a featured verse that Eminem, Marshall Mathers, did on the Conway the Machine track. I believe it was a single released. The track was called Bang. Bang by Conway the Machine. On the track, Uncle Marshall, Eminem, dissed Canibus, Jermaine Williams. He claimed that he basically ruined his career and that now Canibus is forgotten and washed up. I would venture to say, though, that to real underground and old school hip hop heads from the 80s and 90s, and current underground hip hop heads, that Eminem is seen as the one who is washed up, not Jermaine Williams, Canibus. Canibus never sold out. In my opinion, and it's not going to be a popular opinion, Canibus left the more memorable legacy for hip hop. Again, much like I have a view on Eminem, Eminem's super talented lyrically, although he wouldn't be even in my top 150 MCs of all time lyrically, which still in the English language. Regardless, that makes the guy super talented. To be in my personal top 200, you got to be super talented lyrically. Eminem hasn't spit, well, since the last really dope stuff Eminem wrote, he wrote in probably 1999. He had some okay stuff on his 2002 album, The Eminem Show. He had a few okay tracks on the 8 Mile, music from 8 Mile. He had some okay tracks on Encore, and he had one good track in 2013, I believe, on the the Marshall Mathers LP2 called Headlights, featuring Nate Roos, the lead singer of Fun Dot, or whatever that band's called. I don't know if they're still a band. I'll put any extra information I'm going to put in the comment section of this video. Other than that track I mentioned in 2013, Headlights, and then maybe some parts of his 2017 BET Donald Trump diss, Eminem is totally washed. I think that the guy is, his legacy isn't really solidified when it comes to calling him one of the greatest lyrical MCs of all time. He's far from it. I agree in large part with hip-hop artist and YouTuber Diesel Automatic. I'll link you to his channel in the comments below this video. Diesel Automatic is an underground political rapper. I'll link you to his YouTube channel and his Discogs page. You should check his stuff out and buy some of his stuff. If he sells it on Bandcamp or for a modest fee, like you can put like, I guess you can pay, I don't know for sure, but in some artists you can just choose how much to pay. It can be 1 penny, it can be $10, but try to throw some money the way of Diesel Automatic. I highly respect the stuff he's said in the last year and a half about Eminem. I wouldn't call Eminem myself a culture vulture, but Eminem has not given back to the underground, and he has not given back to that many old school hip hop artists from the 80s and 90s, especially the underground, which troubles me greatly. In my opinion, even though the mainstream, and we all know how bad mainstream hip hop is in late 2019, And it has been for at least 12 years. That's debatable. Some would say even longer than 12 years, or much longer than 12 years. I'll say it's been bad since January of 2007. Anything in the mainstream. And this whole decade since January of 2010, mainstream hip-hop has been unlistenable and terrible, 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 terrible. So, on the verse on Bang, which was by Conway the Machine, who, as a part of the duo Hall and Nash, named after Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, the WWE Hall of Famers. Scott Hall, known in the WWE or WWE World Wrestling Federation in the 90s as Razor Ramon, and Kevin Nash, he was known as Diesel in the World Wrestling Federation of the 1990s. And obviously, they're known under their real names, Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, as members of the NWO and good old WCW before it closed down in March of 2001. Anyways, Conway the Machine is one half of the duo Hall and Nash, along with West Side Gun. They're both from Buffalo, New York area. Greater Buffalo, New York, let's say. Or Buffalo. They're signed to Shady Records. Then they have their own label, Griselda Records. So on Conway the Machine's track, it's supposed to be on one of his on an upcoming album by Conway the Machine. I don't know if it's going to be on Shady Records or on his own label or their own label, the label of Conway the Machine, West Side Gun, Derringer, Benny the Butcher, 38 Special, I believe, is on that label. Can't remember who else. Again, it's like Griselda Records. I think it's Conway the Machine, Benny the Butcher, West Side Gun, Derringer, 38 Special, Sadu Gold, maybe? Sadu Gold or Sadu Gold. I don't know. I'll link you to the Discogs for Griselda Records. Anyways, on Griselda, Benny the Butcher, I think I already mentioned him, Vado, who used to be affiliated with the Diplomats, is possibly on Griselda now. On that verse from the Conway the Machine track, Bang, Eminem just said Canibus is forgotten, that no one cares about him anymore. And Eminem said he's a fan of Canibus, was a fan of Canibus. Well, to me, Canibus is and always was a better hip-hop lyricist and truer to the hip-hop culture than Eminem ever was. That would be Eminem's number one career rival would be Canibus in many ways. And for anybody who follows hip-hop, we know why they don't like each other. I'll put more in the comments section. Canibus still puts out good material. He put out some stuff in 2018 and early 2019. His Full Spectrum Dominance series. I don't think that Eminem has given back enough to the culture, considering how much money he has, how much fame and fortune he has, how much influence he has on social media. And in my opinion, if you look at the five, and one of these rappers they have in common. So there's 5 rappers that in my opinion, Canibus, Jermaine Williams, has influenced to a great, huge degree, that are spinning now, and they're very talented rappers. That would be Diabolic, greatly inspired by Canibus, Jermaine Williams, the rapper. Hopsin, who said that his main influences were Crooked Eye, Royce, the 5'9", Canibus, and Eminem. So that's Eminem and Jermaine Williams are a common influencer for Hopsin. So again, the 5 MCs greatly influenced by Canibus. Diabolic, They did a song together in 2010 from Diabolic's debut studio album, A Liar and a Thief, or Liar and a Thief. That was the name of the album. The song was called In Common. It's a great song. I'll put it in the comments section. Diabolic. Hobson, who stated that Canibus was an influence on him. Jermaine Williams. Terminology out of Boston, Massachusetts, USA. Let's see. Chris Webby out of Connecticut. Don't sleep on Chris Webby. And Passionate MC. So Diabolic, Hobson, Terminology, Chris Webby, and Passionate MC are 5 MCs that are currently out there spitting fire, dope as fuck, that have been greatly influenced by Jermaine Williams. And I would say just in the fact that he inspired, that Jermaine has inspired Diabolic, Hobson, Terminology, Chris Webby, and Passionate MC, that's good enough for his legacy in hip-hop. And it's a better legacy than Eminem leaves, even though Eminem also influenced Hobson. Just if you take Hobson, who I'm a big fan of, out of that equation, and you put Diabolic, Terminology, Chris Webby, and Passionate MC, those 4 great MCs, you know, I'm sure underground heads and hardcore hip-hop heads will leave a great legacy, those 4 MCs in themselves. So Canibus, to real hip-hop culture, I believe Jermaine Williams has contributed more than Eminem has. Of course, I'm not talking money here, record sales. I'm not talking fame. I'm not talking jewelry. I'm not talking women. I'm talking giving back and innovating other artists. I'm talking expanding the boundaries of what lyricism in hip-hop had been known to be at the time. And Jermaine did that more than Marshall did. And I'm going to end this by saying I don't dislike Eminem. I don't hate him. I don't dislike him. I think he's a skilled MC. He's in my top. He's between probably spot 151 and 200 of my top MCs of all time. But he's still overrated because he has so many fans that will go to war with him for him. And these fans, you know, they don't think for themselves. So they just hear Eminem and they just hop on his dick. So, and he's a good MC. He made he made some great albums. He made Infinite. He made the Slim Shady EP. He made the Slim Shady LP. He made this stuff in Soul Intent. But Canibus made better albums. And Canibus didn't fall off as hard. I know Canibus, Jermaine Williams, had the terrible showing in June of 2012, or July of 2012, against Disaster, King of the Dot. We can forgive him and overlook that. Eminem, I mean, I don't think Eminem's going to battle anybody in King of the Dot. Of course he's not going to. I don't think even the time frame for that has passed. We saw how his once friend Joe Budden did not very well. So that wasn't in King of the Dot, but he did terribly. I can't understand why hip-hop has really, really gone the way it has, where the only thing that matters is the money, the jewelry, the women, the fame, the fortune. It's all basically strip club music now. Sad to see. Once upon a time, you know, like 30 years ago, Cool G Rap, Boogie Down Productions, Ice-T, Rakim, those were mainstream rappers 30 years ago. That's not very good. Now looking 30 years later at what mainstream hip-hop has become. I'm not saying hip-hop shouldn't change with the times, but Cardi B is the number one rapper out there right now. Cardi B. Who else do we have? Lil Pump. Those are your top rappers. Cardi B and Lil Pump. Danielle Bobby or Bad Baby Bergoli. It's very disappointing. The mainstream, the industry has totally usurped hip hop and perverted it, and it's not in a good state. Worse, I'm not going to say. It doesn't exist at all in the mainstream, I would say. Again, Cardi B is the most famous rapper out there right now. And I'm not knocking her because she used to be an exotic dancer. I'm knocking her because she sucks as a rapper, you see. She's not good as a lyricist. She has no talent. She doesn't write her own lyrics. And none of these other mainstream younger rappers born, none of them do. To be honest here. And they're terrible. Their music is terrible. Doesn't have a positive message. Even so-called rappers that are supposed to be in the mainstream, like J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar, are hardly that political. And they're only political at times when it's convenient for them, for their careers or whatever. To Eminem's great credit, he was far more political than Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole ever were when Eminem dissed Donald Trump 2 years ago. Just in that Trump diss, Eminem was far more political than Kendrick Lamar or J. Cole ever have been in their whole careers. And before you know it, J. Cole especially is going to be washed up because of how ageist the hip-hop industry is. I mean, it's very ageist. Maybe not Kendrick Lamar because his connections with Dr. Dre, Jimmy Iovine, and Eminem. But everybody loses fame over time, and when Kendrick popped off, it was late 2012, second half of 2012, 2013, and that was not when people were buying CDs in the store. It's very different. I think both Kendrick and J. Cole in 5 years even, with mumble rap and whatever is coming next after that, will be forgotten quicker than you think, especially J. Cole. And Eminem was never forgotten. He was the first very, very, very famous white rapper, and I think I would consider him pretty much the best-selling rapper of all time, between Eminem and Jay-Z. But he is not the most lyrically skilled, and he's not nearly one of the best hip-hop lyricists. And he doesn't have one of the most positive messages of all time. He has some great moments. I respect the battles he did. He lost battles. He lost to Rhyme Fest. He lost to MC Juice. He lost to Otherwise. Apparently, in December of 1994, early on in his career, I think Champtown could have been still mentoring him at the time, before he had the falling out with Champtown. Him and Royce had the falling out with, him and Proof had the falling out with Champtown. Canibus battled Eminem. Like a 18-year-old Canibus, 17-year-old Canibus battled Eminem and won. This wasn't filmed. None of them were famous at the time. This was in Detroit. Canibus, I think, as a high school student, was living in Windsor, Ontario, very close to Detroit. And even though Canibus pre-wrote his rhymes and memorized them, he still beat Eminem in a battle, a freestyle battle. I know he memorized his rhymes, but Eminem was known when he was a battle MC to have wrote his stuff to everyone truly did. There was no real freestyle. There was, but not in Scribble Jam, early Scribble Jam era. People had bars they would memorize no matter who they battled, and they would spit them. I'm not saying MC Juice obviously did, but he had better freestyle ability and overall ability than when it comes to battling than Eminem did, and he slayed him at the 1997 Scribble Jam in the finals. Totally bodied him. Rhymefest beat him, not as bad as MC Juice beat him. I'm sure if K Reno had ever battled Eminem around that time, he would have bodied him worse than Juice. Yeah, in the 90s, K Reno, he would have bodied Eminem in a battle. Proof held his own with Eminem in a just a freestyle battle. Royce could hold his own with him. So I think that K Reno would have destroyed him. Rod Digga, the female MC, beat him in a short freestyle battle. So he's no rap god. He's a very skilled MC, but he's beatable, easily beatable. His material is not well-rounded enough when it comes to the thematic content of it. I don't like the way he bashed the LGBTQIA plus community and then backtracked with hugging Elton John on stage and then acting like a sellout in that way. I don't like the way he dissed his own mother and his the mother of his child, Kim, just for record sales and money. And I don't think he's nearly as smart as Jermaine is intellectually. I know Jermaine is not concerned with making money and social media and fame, but I still respect Jermaine way more than I do Uncle Marshall. And Uncle Marshall is a very skilled MC. I'm not denying it. But his legions of adoring fans always overrate him, and they always will. He's basically hip-hop. He's basically hip-hop's Elvis. He's hip-hop's Elvis. So, he took from the African American artists, just like Elvis did, and then made it mainstream for his own financial gain. Eminem has given more back than Elvis. It's a different historical time, but still, he hasn't given back enough to the underground. The underground from which he came. And he should. He should. So this is my video discussing what Eminem said about Jermaine Williams' Canibus on the track he was featured on, which is Bang by Conway the Machine. I'm not knocking Conway the Machine. He's a skilled he's more than up and coming. He's a skilled MC. He's not one of my favorites, but he's skilled. I respect him. And I'll upload one more video within the next probably 10 days, probably. And that will be an update on my on the fact that I'm moving at the end of next month, the end of November, to a much nicer condo. And I'll also give an update on what I'm doing for my odd lifting in 2020. So I'll do that in about 10 days. It'll be a shorter video than this. So I'll put all everything I've made reference to, I'll put it in the comments section of this video. I will cite what I put with YouTube links, Wikipedia links, Discog links, other links. And yes, I think having influenced artists like, I'll just put all 5 of them, Diabolic, Hobson, Terminology, Chris Webby, and Passionate MC, and leaving that legacy, that's a good enough legacy for me as an underground hip-hop critic. So, and even if you take Hobson out of there, because Hobson was also influenced by Eminem. So, influencing Diabolic, Terminology, Chris Webby, and Passionate MC, that's more than good enough for me. If Jermaine Williams influenced them. So, thanks, guys.